What has he done for you? What has he done for you? You don't know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the man upstairs. What has the man upstairs done for you in your life? For me, I travel across the country. I travel for work. Today I'm in Dallas. And today I'm doing a speaking engagement for a group of entrepreneurs, software entrepreneurs. Tomorrow and the day after, I'll be on stage again. But I think about my life and my life in general, and I think about the progression that God has made in my life over the years. And I ask the same thing for you. Are you cognizant of what he has done for you? It's about four and change in the morning right now, here in the gym, getting it in, getting a workout in. But I just had a thought that I wanted to quickly share with you, is recognizing the progress and the value of progress. And are you cognizant? Asking this question, are you cognizant? Do you recognize the progress that God has made in your life? I know for me, I come from an environment where progression is not the norm. I come from an environment where growth is not really talked about. It's looked down upon. You know, people will say, "Your little business. Are you still doing your little business? Are you still going after your little dreams?" That's where I come from. But I think about the last few years, specifically between 2014, so the last 10 years almost. Between 2014, when I started my first business, I became an entrepreneur at 18, 19 years old, and I started my business. It was tough in the beginning, but I made enough money to retire myself for 18 months. So I semi-retired for 18 months, and then I got back into the workforce, and I started going after my dreams, which my dreams at the time was speaking. So I would travel around the country, speak on stages. I'm currently in Dallas now. I've hosted seminars here in Dallas. I've hosted multiple events here in Dallas. I've hosted seminars and conferences in Houston. I've done events all around the country, New York, you name it. I've been there, done events, right? And I think about my journey where I'm from, because I remember there was a time where I was in the snow walking home in the middle of like a blizzard. And I'm walking home and I'm questioning, like, am I gonna make it? Like, if you know the environment that I come from, if it's nighttime, it's snow, you're vulnerable. You're in a vulnerable position. And I remember asking myself and asking God, like, am I gonna make it to my destination, right? And every step that I took, every single step that I took in the snow, I'm talking about I was 4 miles away from home, 3 or 4 miles away from home. And every step that I took in the snow, I'm questioning, like, is this gonna be my last night here? I didn't have a ride home. You can't call, back then it was taxis, definitely not Ubers back then. And you know, you couldn't call a taxi driver because it was so snowy. And I didn't have a ride home. And I remember just walking in the snow and I'm saying to myself, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Every step that I took, am I gonna make it? Not only every step that I took, but I also come from an environment where I might get robbed. You know, that's the honest truth. I might get robbed on the street. It's a very vulnerable moment because it's easy for someone to rob you on the street because then the cops ain't gonna come in the middle of the blizzard. So that's the reality of it. So I'm thinking to myself, like, am I gonna make it? And as I'm taking these steps, all I'm thinking about is my destination. Do you think about your destination, and do you have a similar experience where you dream about a future, you dream about a vision for your life, for your family, for people that depend on you, and every single moment that you're in it, you're asking yourself, are you gonna make it? You ask God, are you gonna make it? Well, I invite you to look at your past. I invite you to look at the last 5 years, the last 6 years, the last 10 years, the last 15, maybe the last 20, where as you look at your past, you look at your journey in your past, and you just look at the progression of your past. I want you to, seriously, think about the last 10 years. I know for me, when I started my first business, I was 18, 19 years old. So it was about 10 years ago, I started my first business, and every single day I started my business, I was like, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Like, this month, am I gonna make it? Is this month gonna take me out? Is next month gonna take me out? Is next year gonna take me out? And when you have a vision, when you have a goal, when you have a dream, when you have a vision so big, I just think that the enemy, the devil's gonna try to slow you down and play on your vision. But what has he done for you? Think about, like, the last 10 years, what has God done for you? if you're currently today traveling, or if you're currently going after your dreams, or if you're currently running your business, or if you're currently, if you have employees, if you currently are living the life that you envisioned years ago, and have you taken a moment to pause for a second, look back and be like, wait, he has done a tremendous amount for me. He has done a lot for me. Over the years, over the decades, over the months, over the hours, he's done a lot for me. I know for me, man, there's times where, man, I thought I wasn't gonna make it. I thought it was not gonna happen for me. And every morning I wake up, I put my shoes on, boom, put my shoes on, get in the gym, get it in, and then that day I made it. And I go to bed and I ponder the next day. I'm like, is the next day? Am I gonna make it? You see, one thing I wanna share with you is that the opportunity is gonna show up. If you ever question yourself, just show up. If you ever think that you're not gonna make it, just show up and recognize that God's working for you like he's working for me. God's working for you. Whether you know it or not, he's working for you. So as you ponder over the last few years and you've seen the progression that you came from, just think about it. You made it that far, and you didn't come this far just to be this far. There's a lot more. There's a bigger journey for you. So stay focused. A book that I wrote a book when I was 21. These are the thoughts of a 20-year-old phenom. That's what my book is, No More Average. I'm talking about, at 20 years old and 21, there's still levels of the world that I didn't get a chance to see yet at that point yet. And so optimistic, and I'm still optimistic, but so optimistic. I wrote a book called No More Average. In this book, No More Average simply means that don't be in the middle. If you think about average, what does average mean? Think about 1 to 10. What is the average between 1 to 10? 5. It's in the middle. So average is just being in the middle of something. So you got the top, you got the bottom, you got just the middle. That's what average is. So No More Average is about constantly pushing to be towards the top, right? Constantly pushing to be towards the top. So if you got the bottom, you got the top, you got the middle. Average is when you live a life where your goals aren't really on top of your mind all the time. Do you live like that? Do you live a life where you're not thinking about the next day, you're not thinking about the next year, your goals aren't fresh on top of your mind? You're just thinking about life, and you're just doing life rather than being conscious about where you're going in life. See, average is when you're in the middle. So No More Average, when I wrote that book, it was about getting out of the middle and pushing towards the top every single day. Progress daily. I named my software company Progretta because it's a play on progress daily. So going from the average to the top, man, you gotta be conscious about this every single day. You gotta think about it every single day. So here's what my invitation is to you. As you're in your vision, as you're in your movement, as you are progressing, that you remember the times that he got you out of sticky situations. That you remember the moments where you thought you weren't gonna make it, but he got you out of it. That you remember the moments that you thought you weren't gonna get something, but then you got it. Remember, what has he done for you? Don't be average. Progress daily, baby. Don't be average. Progress daily. I'll see you at the top.